So the show, Greatest Hits.
David proposed a reality show. Go ahead.
No.
Greatest Hits. Here's the buzz.
No, I have no idea. Yes. This is Friday, everybody. But last night, Greatest Hits had possibly the most challenging flow I've ever had in network television, where we usually have Battlebots as our lead-in, which is harsh enough of a lead-in for a music show.
Don't tell that to Sonny Carolla.
Oh, he loves Battlebots?
Oh,
boy.
He's sitting there going, who's going to take a Tombstone or Ziggy? Ziggo, Spinner versus a Crusher.
My sense is that he's going to be bitterly disappointed tonight when they replaced, for the night, Battlebots with President Obama leading a town hall on racial progress in America. It's like Battlebots, but
well, I'm going to have to sit down and explain to Sonny that is our show. We have one show that we watch, and that's Battlebots, and he loves him some Battlebots. I love me some Battlebots. What's not to love? It's all the stuff, all the tinkering, all the stuff.
It's right there in the name.
It's one of these things where, in a weird way, it's probably the ultimate IQ test. Like, here are the rules. It can't weigh more than 300 pounds. Other than that, those are the rules. Yep. It can't weigh more than 300 pounds or 250 or whatever it is. Here's how much it can weigh. Other than that, go out. And they're like, well, some have hammers, some have saws, some are spinners, some spin the other way. It's like, well, the rules have got 300 pounds. Yeah, that's it.
Some go strictly defense, which I always find interesting. That's really their strong suit is being able to take a couple of hits.
Well, there's the sort of ram ones, but it's not. It's like tell that to a guy who's in a crack house in South Central in 1989 that Daryl Gates made that thing for defense. I mean, it moves forward and it knocks the other stuff into the wall, but it's not a defensive move. But they don't have weapons.
But some lean more towards defense than others.
Next Thursday, Battlebots will be back at 8 p.m. and I'm going to try to get Wiz Khalifa to be with the Battlebots, sort of not saying anything or doing anything, but just there.
Awesome.
Pointing at the Battlebots.
And that night, you'll see Bonnie Raitt with Andre Day, the best I think your favorite song in the whole summer of the Greatest Hits.
Well, it's not going to beat Boys to Men.
Their Boys to Men are on.
I know.
You know everything.
Yeah. All right. So what I'm going to say to Sonny Carolla is this. I got bad news. I got good news.
Okay.
Bad news, no Battlebots tonight.
That is bad news.
Good news, your president is going to do a town hall, and we are going to have a dialogue about race.
Are you kidding me?
So this entire mess will be taken care of by Monday.
That's a real silver
lining. By 9 p.m. That's when, before Greatest Hits begins, we have to have the healing.
I don't know how many conversations we've had on race. We can just toss this on the massive pile, bigger than one of those Big 8 school pallet burnings before the actual Saturday kickoff, the Friday night. Yeah. It will do nothing. It will be nothing. It shall cover nothing. It will solve nothing. The only thing that solves anything, family and education.
Right. You're going to
families have to get together.
What if Friday what about today when people are listening to this, if the problem's already over and you're now talking?
You wake up.
There's a mathematical problem here that can never be overcome. Would you guys like to know the mathematical problem that will never be overcome unless we change the math?
Is this something Dinesh D'Souza told you?
No. Okay. This is the math.
Yeah.
The math is about 4% of the population, which is black males, 16, 18, 17, whatever, to 23, does about 50% of the violent crime or the murders. Okay? That's the math. Okay. Until you correct that math, until we have a forum, an open discussion, a town hall, an open dialogue about how to correct that, then every single cop, black or white, whomever, who walks up to a car with a black male in it that is in that age category is going to be freaked out. And he's going to have his hand on his gun. That's what's going to happen. Now, we can train him a little bit, but adrenaline is a hard thing to train out of when you're walking up. So there's a math. It's 4% versus 50%. We're going to have to change those numbers. And if we can change those numbers, then we can slow this down.
Comes a lot easier.
Yeah, there'll still be racist cops out there, but this number needs to change. There is no such thing as talking a cop out of being freaked out or on edge when he walks up to that car with that demo in it. That's going to be a very tough piece of dialogue to have. Unless we can take everyone from this town hall meeting and dispatch them to every squad car in North America. If we can do that, it'll work. If not, we got to change that ratio.
I accept none of your numbers and nothing
Those
you
are the
say.
numbers.
But if President Obama, and this is the hugest if of all, if he had asked you to be the moderator for this town hall, to be a part of this conversation, would you have looked forward to that? Would you have ignored that? Would you?
You know what I would say? I would say, listen, all your jack-off buddies at the Huffington Post, you guys love numbers when it comes to climate change, right?
Oh, I like numbers.
We like stats.
Yeah.
When you're talking about climate change, we love stats. We love how much the polar caps have melted. We love how much the water's risen. We'll do things like it's 0.9% hotter this June than it was 10 Junes ago and all that, right? It's numbers, stats. Scientists, we got all the leading clinicians in the world and statisticians, climatologists, we got them all together. We got all the numbers. Then we crunch the numbers and then you yell, it's just the numbers. Just look at the numbers. Just look at the numbers. And then whoever on the other side, on the right, goes, oh, please don't give me that. I'm telling you, I went outside the other day in June. It was cold. And you go, I don't care. That's anecdotal. These are the numbers. Just read the numbers. Yes?
This town hall.
Yes or no?
I'm not sure I understand the question.
Folks at Huffington Post, they love numbers when it comes to climate change. Yes or no?
I think the place, yes.
Yes or no?
Yes,
okay,
but
good.
Also,
all right, now where to start? Okay, you guys love numbers. Here are some numbers that you completely reject. Completely reject.
This town hall is falling apart with you and
why reject? Why accept all of these numbers?
I think you and Wiz have to do instead Battlebots, sort of a racially charged episode.
How can you get to anything if you won't get into statistics? I mean, if you look into amount of people shot, if you look into incidents where they're shot percentage-wise, they look into, I mean, I just, you turn on the radio and you hear them going, it's open season on our young women and our young men of color. And it's like, no, it's not open season. First off, young women of color, it's open season. They don't get shot. I mean, not nearly what we're talking about. I mean, way less than, 5%. I mean, what are we talking about? We can't but this will be the town hall. There'll be nothing done. But again, all I'm saying is, HuffPo, you love numbers on climate change. Just crunch the numbers, bring the numbers in, get the same numbers, guys, put them to this thing, and let's see if we can fix it.
I just got to say, Adam, I don't want to, argue too much politically because that's not a smart thing to do.
This isn't political! It's not political! Okay, it's not political! That's the whole thing! It's not, just like you say, climate change is not political. It's just numbers. It's just stats.
All I know,
that's all.
Here's what I do know. I was beaten up once in my life, and it was by a New York cop. By a white New York cop for no reason. Yep. And I experienced what that's like. And I learned how police can work. And in this case, what happened was a guy 6'5" had lost his mind, started beating the crap out of me in front of a crowd. The other police pulled him off, got together and came over to me and made a group lie about what had happened and said, and gave me a warning. Yes. But at that moment, as I was getting hit by a cop, I realized, if I'm not in a crowd and I'm not white, I think I'm dead. Like, this guy would have just killed me. And that was not a political thought, but it was a realistic thought. I said, this is how it can work. But I appreciate it.
But so you're a squatty Jew. Yes. My point is,
lucky you.
Cops do this all the time. I would like to address that problem. I don't buy the open season on black people. I buy the part where our cops are turning into the military and they're out of control. That I've said many times. The guy in, was it Fresno?
Yes.
And Mark Garagos is defending a case right now where I think it was out of New Mexico or Phoenix, Arizona. Yeah, the guy walked out of the hotel room. These two cases, I think, at least in the in the Mesa, Arizona one, the guy came out of the hotel room, was laying on the floor in the hallway with his hands out in front of him. The cops just opened up into the back of his head, standing 10 feet away. Just white dude. Not a story. Not an issue. In a weird way, not even in a weird way, I would say in a real way, more egregious than some of the stuff we've seen going on now. This is complying and laying on your face. This isn't, being tased and wrestling with cops. This is on your face in a hallway, and they just emptied a clip in his back. That's something I'd like to address. I don't like that part of coppery. But the other part where it's just open season on black people, statistically, not a good thing. And yes, here's you want to get screwed by cops? Poor people. Not black people, poor people and whoever commits statistically the most crime. So if you take poor, meaning, and my skin color or my gender or my age is responsible for the lion's share of the crime, or more so statistically than others, then I will suffer the most. Whoever that group is, it can change. It'd be nice if the Jews or the Asians grab the baton every once in a while, but you guys aren't fast enough. But the problem is, as long as you are in that group, then guess what group is going to be singled out? Cops will gladly do it to anybody, but that group's going to get it a little more because of the statistics. Sorry, that's wiring. And by the way, if you are a cop and you're walking up on a car at night and inside of that car is somebody of whatever group we've decided that has a statistically much higher chance of committing a violent crime, and you're not more on edge than you are with an elderly Asian woman, you're not a cop. You're not a human being. That person doesn't exist. There's nobody that's that good. There's nobody that's that good. But the real people that get the crap kicked out of them are poor people. You live in bad neighborhoods. You have lots of crime. You have lots of interactions with the cops. And the cops approach you in a completely different way. Because in that neighborhood, everybody's a criminal. That's basically the way the cops look at it. In your neighborhood, nobody's a criminal. They're not looking for you. They're looking for the criminal who came from the other neighborhood into your neighborhood. So the only way to fix it is you can do all the cop coaching you want, and that's fine. That'll take care of a very small percentage of it. The part where we start changing the numbers in terms of crime, in terms of families being intact, schools, and all that other stuff, that's the real solution. The coaching of the cops is, well, that's simply dialogue that will never end. Mm-hmm. The coaching the cops dialogue we've had. We've had it. Look, what's Rodney King, 25 years now? And what are we at? I mean, yes, we can talk. We can have another open, by the way, an open discussion that will never, this part's not going to come up. The part I just brought up, that's off the table for the open discussion. They'll have a fake open discussion, and that'll be that. And everyone will walk away kind of knowing what the real truth is, but they won't speak it.
But does it bother you that, like, in my neighborhood, if David Allen Greer and I were both driving around, we could ask him, but I know that, for instance, there was a Republican congressman. He
is in your neighborhood.
Yes, yeah. You know. There's a Republican congressman the other day who said he's been stopped for absolutely no reason 9 times or whatever it was, and, like, you know, a suspicion of stealing his own car. You know, that's a problem. That's
9 times.
I've never. That's never.
No,
happened.
That's not a problem because it happens to everybody.
It never happened to me.
I've been pulled over. Well, you've never.
But you don't stop at the stop.
No. You've not been poor, which is number one. Well, I've been poor for a long time in this city, and when I was poor, I got pulled over a lot. I told you I had a pickup truck where they tried to steal it and they busted the ignition out, and I got pulled over for that. Well, sort of rightfully so.
Did they make you walk home with your motorcycle?
I got 3 motorcycles towed. One I was on. And the guy got me off of it, made me walk home. That was one of my...
Poor man's chauffeur.
That was my greatest... I was going down Laurel Canyon. Dave lives off of Laurel Canyon. I was heading down Laurel. I wasn't doing anything wrong. I just got pulled over because the guy wanted to see my class whatever license, my motorcycle license. I didn't have a motorcycle license. So he pulled me over. We pulled onto one of those side streets down by Carpenter Avenue School and just sort of pulled it off. There's a couple of cul-de-sac ones to the right. You're heading down. I lived all the way down Laurel in an apartment building off of Magnolia, but pulled over, parked the bike. Guy gave me the speech, wanted to know where my license was. I said, I've been riding for a long time. I just don't have a license. I got a driver's license. I just don't have a motorcycle license. He's like, well, you need a motorcycle license. I said, okay. He said, he said, you got to go to the DMV and you got to go get the license. And I said, okay, but how do I take the license test? Like if you take my bike, if I don't have my bike, I don't have a bike to take the test on. He said, you go to the DMV, you do a written test, you get a temporary license, then you get your bike, then you go back to the DMV and you take your permanent one on your bike.
Time well spent.
I said, okay, so can I just leave my bike here? It's parked, it's on a side street, it's not a no parking anything, it's not in front of anyone's house. I'll just leave it here. And I'll get home and I'll get to the DMV and then I'll come and he's like, no, I'm towing it. And I'm like, first off, I'm poor. Like I got no money and the tow yard is $90 or whatever it was back then. That's a day and a half's work for me. Said, I'm towing it. I said, how about we just leave it here? And because if you tow it,
posing no danger.
If you tow it, you're just going to tow it to the North Hollywood tow yard on Lancashire. I'm going to have to get a ride home. Then I'm going to have to get a ride to the DMV. Then I'm going to have to take my temp written test at the DMV. Not on a motorcycle. I don't know what makes it safer, but I'm going to fill out these true false things. Then I'm going to get a ride to the tow yard. Then I'm going to give the guy $90, and then I'll be back on my bike again. But if we can just leave it here, you can watch me. I'll just start walking down the street. It's like, no. Hooked that baby up and towed it. And I remember, I think the guy felt a little sorry for me, so I just got my helmet and just started walking down Laurel Canyon. It was about 4 or 5 miles from my house. He sort of went, you want to ride? I said, no, not with you.
Oh,
I don't want to do that. And I hitchhiked, and the guy from Stand and Deliver picked me up.
Okay.
The Samoan guy, supposed to be a big Mexican dude.
Oh, wow.
And we smoked pot. And then...
So all's well that ends well.
Wait, I don't remember that part of the story.
Yeah, the big dude from Stan. I was
That's
hitchhiking
fantastic.
and walking.
Oh, you're literally speaking with that guy?
Yeah, that dude.
I was walking down Laurel Canyon, just hitchhiking, you know. But Stand and Deliver must have come out like 1996. 86 or something.
Late 80s.
Something. 88? All right. So this probably would have been 87. And I was just walking down the street hitchhiking.
Oh, you later recognized him as the guy who gave you a ride.
No,
What I'm saying is you didn't...
No, he picked me up. He picked me up, and he was a big, sort of very... he was an interesting-looking, just big dude who was like a Samoan dude, I think, but he played Latin. And he picked me up, and he drove in, and we started talking. What do you do? I said, I don't know. I started talking to him about comedy. I like doing comedy. He said, I'm an actor, too, you know. And I, well, what are you doing? Well, I just finished doing a movie. It's not going to be out for 6 months. Called Stand and Deliver. You know, I play one of the students or whatever. And I said, all right. And we just sort of chatted about show business. He was a lot closer to show business than I was.
What's it like?
At that time. And he dropped me off at my house, and then I did what I had to do. I got another ride to the Van Nuys DMV, and then I got a ride back to pick the bike up. Being poor is really the worst. The worst part. Now,
I was just going to say, my recollection of my poor days was jumping through a lot of hoops. You know what I mean? Like,
yes.
Pay this and then do this, and pay this and then do this. And whereas nowadays, you just be like, okay, let's just cut to the finish line. And
here's the bottom line. Drive a ratty pickup truck or motorcycle or beat up car, and you're going to get pulled over a lot because cops are going to find more in those cars than they're going to find with Lynette driving the Tesla.
Right.
That's number one. So being poor, that trumps almost everything in terms of your interactions, relationships with the cops.
Can I add one thing to that?
But listen, what black folk don't realize is they get pulled over at a higher rate, no doubt. White people get pulled over everyone who's lived in L.A. that I know who's worked, sort of regular jobs and stuff could tell you stories about cops pulling them over and screwing with them and for what appeared to be nothing. That's their MO. Yes.
When we were getting ready, I was packing up from Vegas, I was watching Alaskan State Troopers, and my favorite moment was they just went to kind of just harass these dudes in these lean-to houses and found some weed in his house and found out he traded it for some vitamins, vitamin C. Mm-hmm. And the trooper looked in the camera and said, well, we had to do something. He's involved in the drug trade.
Yep. It's really, again, poor people is number one. But if you have certainly Black and Hispanic, well, then there's percentage-wise more poor. Most of this is poor. I mean, rich, the black senator, David Allen Greer. David Allen Greer will tell you a story about getting pulled over in your neighborhood. That's true. But that's as far as the story's going. Mm-hmm. They're going to walk around. They're going to see he has whatever he has, and he's on his way. Now, you can go, well, that's wrong. I get it. And the problem is this. As long as people who look like David Allen Greer are committing the lion's share of the violent crime, then they will get pulled over more often. That's as a matter of fact, that's just basically police work. That's how they do it. I mean, that's how it works.
I don't think David Allen Greer looks like the hardened criminal.
No, but the problem is
more like the versatile Broadway.
I agree.
I agree.
And also, he's let his hair go a little gray. He'll age out of that demo pretty quick.
For sure.
Mm-hmm. All right. Anyway, we'll have a constructive town hall meeting, and all problems will be solved by Monday.
Yep.
Yes.
Instead of Battlebots.
The one show, Battlebots,
that we can all agree on.
The one show that I love, that brings us together. That's right.
Well, Greatest Hits will bring you together.
Yeah. All right.
Even without Wiz
that.
Khalifa.
Well, was he on? I don't know. I blinked. I missed him. Castrol Edge. Man. Yeah. Castrol Edge. 3 times stronger than Mobil 1 against viscosity breakdown. As per industry shear stability test. In the 5W30 grade. Good stuff. Castrol Edge. They did a cool thing. They got some professional race car drivers. They put one in an Aston Martin Vulcan. And they put the other in a Koenigsegg. Super expensive, like multi-million-dollar cars. They put them on a VR simulator, and they let them tear up the Ascari racetrack, and then they put them on the track, in the car, and they had them go at it. And you can watch it all. How do you do it? Well, go online. Go to Castrol USA YouTube. Go to their channel. Go to their YouTube channel, Castrol USA. Check out the YouTube channel. And check it out, baby. Castrol Edge, made with liquid titanium technology. It's the strongest, most advanced range oils yet. Titanium strong for maximum engine performance. Make sure your next oil change is Castrol Edge, baby. All right. Hey, Gary.
What's up, boss?
Do you have me and Empty Head over there on Huffington Post from 5 years ago where I was explaining to her?
The pipeline?
Family and education?
Yes, trying to shut the pipeline down.
Give me about 3 minutes.
All right. It's awesome. It's just a big argument. Hey, family and education. Oh, come on. There's more than that. Okay, there is. Family and education. Oh, come on. There's more than that.
It wasn't Ariana Huffington, was it?
No, it was one of her henchwomen that she hires to just push whatever the stupid poison they're peddling is. They just keep pushing the poison. No solutions. Just keep pushing it out there. Here's how I know. First off, I know everything, number one. Number two, the reason I know I'm right is because there's 5 other minority groups in this country that are kicking ass because of family and education, whose skin is oftentimes browner than the Hispanic skins. Yep, they're out there whooping butt. There's no good reason why should racist cops like Chinese, Japanese, or Eastern Indian people, or Jews for that matter? Like, should they like them? I mean, why? If you're a racist cop, I mean, at least Hitler was consistent. It was like, I want Jews and gypsies and homosexuals and retarded people.
You have the guts to finally find the positive there.
I'm saying they just, the Klan, say what you like. But give the devil their due. They hate Jews. They hate blacks. They hate Mexicans. They probably hate atheists. They hate everybody. They're the Klan.
Did you write that tweet for Trump?
They hate everybody. They don't do a lot of cherry picking. Yeah.
The guy who apparently...
I didn't say cotton. I said cherry.
The guy who apparently Trump picked for VP, Mike Pence. Apparently there's a tweet from like a few months ago saying... The idea of removing Muslims from America or banning them is utterly unconstitutional. And like the countdown is how long till he makes that go away.
Well, everybody, this has to happen because if you're running against Bernie Sanders, you're doing battle with Bernie Sanders. If you're Hillary Clinton and you're going, she's corrupt and you're corrupt and you don't know anything, and at a certain point it finishes and you go, all right, now I need your endorsement. Right. And 10 minutes ago you're saying you're in Wall Street's back pocket and now you're endorsing me. Yeah. That has to happen both directions all day, every day in politics. It can't go any other way. There's nobody in that let's just call it Hitler's bunker of politicians that hasn't said this guy would be a horrible treasurer or this guy would be a horrible secretary of state or something. And then at some point, 8 years goes by and he's like, I endorse him as
Twitter's a real trail of breadcrumbs that way.
Chris Christie is begging Trump to let him run with him. I mean, he is his biggest fan all of a sudden. So you're right.
that extends beyond politics. Gary probably knows this. Gary, wasn't it Jared Goff who posted something horrible about Kobe or something like that, years ago? The quarterback for the LA Rams, number 1 draft pick, and then it came around to bite him in the ass. When he was in high school or college, 2012, he posted something like Kobe's the worst person in the world, and now he's sharing, a city, he's at launch events with Kobe. He's hey, friend.
Yeah.
The one thing that I'm sorry, Gary. Sorry. Okay.
Yeah, that's correct.
Okay, it's Kobe, that's right.
The one thing, the one new piece of rhetoric that I've noticed the last few days that I don't know what difference you think it'll make or not, but the new thing is having cops from that neighborhood be the ones patrolling that neighborhood. Do you think that would move the needle at all?
Well, I think that, and I'm not a slippery slope guy, but we're on our first steps towards segregation, really. No, it's not going to. There's this thing that's a very dangerous thought that we never stop, which is we need a black guy because he understands the black guy. That's not what we need. It's sort of like they'll do it on 60 Minutes where they'll go Serena Williams needs to be interviewed. Get the black guy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It's kind of more racist. It's
a racist thought.
This group, whatever this group is the only ones who can
get the guy.
With this group.
Get the guy who knows the most about sports. Well, I'll tell you what. Do you guys as white people, I don't have an issue with a black cop as a white person. Now people can go, yeah, but there's no history of whatever, but I don't know, maybe that black dude's really pissed on what's going on and maybe it's payback time. But I don't have a problem with that. This is a horrible slippery slope because, first off, do we do it? Again, we're getting back to, Glendale, Armenian cops? Well, yes.
I mean, in this scenario, that's what a lot of people are calling for.
Well, then, okay, go down to Fairfax. Should we get the 9 Jew cops in Los Angeles and why not?
Because what's the point?
Why? Well, I don't understand. I'm using your logic.
Right. Well, it's not my logic.
But because Jews don't fight with cops, so we don't need that. Right. So what we need is somehow the blackface. But the brother that's walking up on the car, he knows the stats just as well as the white guy who's walking up on the car knows the stats.
He's wearing a uniform just like the white guy.
But here's the deal. Whatever it is the cop says to you, whatever the color the cop is or gender the cop is, that's what you need to do. Now, again, I get it. Let's get the black guy in the black neighborhood. But there's a few things. First off, police departments throughout the country are not majority white anymore. I mean, they're Hispanic and black. There's plenty of black cops. And again, I travel through TSA, LAX. It's 86% black. Do I care? Is there an issue? Do I need to see familiar faces? Think about how racist and condescending. It's I want to see people that look like me standing at the metal detector.
I just go with what
they agree with me?
Yeah, the Dallas chief of police, who seems like the most impressive dude, and what a story.
David
but
Brown.
I just go with what he said, which is, and he said reached out to the sort of youth who were, if you're angry and you're in Dallas, sign up, apply, get a job here, you can work for me, and you can make you want to improve your city. Do it with us, which is a great message.
Well,
get a job.
And the reason why I brought up that question is because I've been hearing it so much, but my boyfriend's father was a very Irish cop from a very Irish cop neighborhood in New York, and his only patrol beat was Harlem. And he loved the people, according to Tim, the people loved him, they got along famously, and I don't even know if we have that anymore.
Well, we don't, as long as everyone keeps feeding the black population that it's open season on black folk. That you start saying open season on black folks or any folk, we're never going to have a good relationship with the cops. The cops are out there to hunt you down.
Did you watch the ESPYs last night?
No, I did not.
At the Open, I don't know if you saw it, but a number of the greatest stars of basketball lined up, and they made a statement, and it wasn't that. The thing is,
well, that's good.
No, but the people I know they're doing a more nuanced message than that, which is. How
much of it is black fathers stay back and raise your kids? Well, then it's not worth it. Then it's moot.
But here's something you won't want to hear.
Is that in there?
No, President Obama has put that in there so many times.
Don't hear that. I didn't hear that part at the Dallas thing, and I didn't hear that part when he was abroad. I just heard the part where everyone's has this festering in themselves, and a lot of it's institutionalized.
I don't think Bill O'Reilly put a spotlight on that part.
I watched it.
I hear it.
All right, we'll see if we can got it. And look, there's one message: you have to stay back. You have to raise your kids. You have to educate your kids, and then this will stop. Or we could use your super effective method. Your super effective method. Does anyone want to look if anything's effective? That's the whole thing. Do you get no results? You get 0 results and proudly stand by your methods. Boldly. You're like, you guys are all captains on a sinking ship going, we are all the best. Stay the course. Throw away the sextant. We know what we're doing. You've had 30 years of this. It is 0 effective. How about an alternative plan?
We've had 30 years of what?
Rhetoric. Nothingness. Exactly what you're doing now.
We're all speaking. I mean, we're not.
What is your plan?
My plan?
What is your group's plan?
I don't have a group.
Do you have a plan?
I'm not running for president.
All right, what is your plan, David Wild?
Oh, my plan is more investment in public education.
Okay. Who spends the most?
Who spends the most?
What city? What state?
I don't know. Do you know?
Yeah, it's basically L.A. is at the top of the food or the bottom of the food chain. You know where we're at? We're like 49th. Like Baltimore, Chicago. Who spends the most?
And who do you? Well, that's
so we need to invest more.
But no, that's government waste, and that's all
right. So invest
issue.
More in education. What good is education if you don't have kids showing up? If no one's there to do homework with the kids, what do we do with this education? The kids don't show up. They don't have a home to go to. They don't have parents.
Right? And
how's that education going to work?
I'm pro-family.
All right, so let's pay the teachers more and get more computers.
Well, not just investing more money.
All right, I just want to get your stance. Invest in education.
Right. Well,
okay.
Well, hold on. I think,
I don't mind. Invest in education.
What do I think are the biggest? The biggest problem is the middle class is disappeared. That's the biggest problem in America.
How do we fix that?
Well, it's hard in a democracy to have the huge differential between the rich and the poor.
Well, you want to know what closes the gap statistically, or are we not interested in numbers?
What?
Getting married?
Better education?
No.
Marriage?
No. Marriage?
Right.
Marriage before children, and then staying intact and raising the kid. Statistically, that's the best way to pull people out of poverty.
Hey, I did it ahead of you. I'm pro doing all those things.
The one thing I love what Dennis Prager says, if the Jews would only preach what they practice, because you guys are the biggest hypocrites in the world. You do everything this way and then preach everything that way. You would never let this happen with your own family or own community.
What have I ever preached?
Well, I'm talking to you about family. I'm talking to you about don't focus on the cops. Focus on the family. You're telling me it's a bigger problem than that. We got to have a dialogue. I just want to know what your platform is.
But,
education.
But you're doing groupthink just like
just give
those
me
cops are doing. You're typing me because I'm Jewish.
No. Listen, it's clear. Listen, I'm not arguing. Here's the deal. You're in this camp. You're in this camp. I'm in this camp.
Don't tell Jews in a camp. Jews don't like hearing
That's a very good point.
Get my tattoo gun out. All right. Tell me what you would like to do to solve this problem.
It would be funnier if you hadn't phrased Hitler within this same podcast.
Education.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
More money for education is what you said.
And more emphasis on education.
You said more money was the first thing that came out of your mouth.
More investment.
Oh, more investment
yes.
in education.
Yes.
Okay. And I'm saying we're wasting a ton of money and we're getting no results. So would you like to spend more money?
Well, what I would like in terms of education is less bureaucracy and more investment in teachers.
Okay, so you want to disband the unions.
I don't think teachers...
Because the unions, those guys are on your side.
Do you think teachers are wealthy? Do you have any teachers who live in your neighborhood?
I don't know.
I don't have any teachers who live in my neighborhood, and I think teaching is an important job.
I agree.
And I don't think bureaucrats...
They get tenure after 2 years out here in L.A., and we can't get rid of them if they're bad. There's no such thing as being able to fire them. Do you want that? What if you can't get rid of bad teachers?
I don't know. I don't have the same feeling about unions that you do.
Well, we have... Look, I don't mind unions. I don't mind the concept of a union, but you make tenure after 16 months, and now it's going to cost $450,000 and take 10 years to fire you if you're a bad teacher. It's not a good plan. Agreed?
No, I agree with that.
Okay, so investment in education.
Yes.
Okay, okay. All right. I don't see how that really moves the needle, since we spend a lot on education, but what is second?
My answers are simple things. I go on based on my...
Simple?
Well, okay,
I thought mine was simple.
Here's a simple thing. Like education, here's a very important thing that has fallen apart in America. How about, like, my dad grew up on charity, and he said what saved him from a tough New York City childhood was that public libraries were open like around the clock, and he hid in the library and became a good student and managed to go to Cornell, put himself through college.
But if your family your family life is chaos, you're not going to a library.
We've let libraries go. We've let
Okay.
That's music education.
Music education. Okay, so those are the top three. Brian, you got that?
I got that.
Investment in education, keep libraries open longer, and bassoons. Music education.
I do think David's correct in the sense that investing in money can be better spent in education. I feel like a lot of the money is wasted. Your famous example of the iPads being given out to students was kind of
a disaster.
Well, that would be an investment. That's an investment in education.
I feel like that might be bad money after good.
Well, who's to tell what's good and what's bad in the future? A year ago, that was a great idea. Remember?
May have been more. To me, it struck me as window dressing. You know what I mean? It's like, all right, we have these iPads. We're so advanced. It's like, well, we need to teach a lot of these kids how to speak English. Like we obviously are so close to the border, being much more so than Portland or Seattle or wherever. We have a huge problem with a lot of our students in the LAUSD just can't speak the language.
Right.
That's a huge problem for the education, for rankings, all that stuff. And you say we spend the most, we probably do, because LA is so humongous. Like it's the biggest county in the biggest city.
It's per student.
All right, I have no way of verifying that, but let's say it is.
No, per student.
Okay.
That's what I'm saying to you.
And let's say it is.
They don't do it like Arkansas is this big and they spend $30 million in LA. You spend $31 million, but per student. No, they do it per student.
Okay.
That's how
let's say that's correct.
That's how they do it.
Correct.
Brian, that's how they do it, is what I'm saying.
Okay.
I'm not being a dick. I'm just explaining. They don't do the let's say or let's. Yeah.
The money could certainly be spent better. That's obviously we're not getting the results for the money we're spending.
Because we have
That's a huge problem.
Yeah, we got crappy teacher unions out here, and we have people that won't vote for vouchers. They won't let people start charter schools.
Go charter schools, exactly. Start the private schools and the charter schools.
So talk next time you're at the meeting. Ask your friends about why no vouchers.
The meeting of what?
Listen, I got your platform. It's more musical instruments, longer hours on libraries, and more investment in education.
My platform is my life, and do you think,
I'm asking you what you want to do to solve this problem.
Do you think I'm happy about having spent the money? I sent my kids to private school through my whole life. Do you think I'm happy?
No,
about that?
I understand what you do. I'm saying we have a different opinion politically on how to solve this problem. I'm asking from your side, what would your technique be to solve this problem? I have invested in education, I have longer library hours, and I have instruments.
What I'm saying is I am for giving a leg up to the middle class in any way you can, because I think that's the only way.
We got to figure out how we got to define that. I mean, in any way you can. I don't know. How's that mean? We got the MacBooks for the kids. That didn't work. We gave them an iPad. It didn't work.
I will tell you that my generation of my parents, and there were a whole generation of these Jewish kids who weren't the rich Jewish kids. Yes. The generation that became the rich
What did
Jewish
the Jews
parents,
do? What are the Jews famous for?
But they got tons of.
What are the Jews famous for?
My dad got his college education.
Was your dad around to raise you?
Yes, he was.
Okay. Well, now we're getting somewhere. The Jews focus on family and education.
Do you think this divorce thing is only a problem in the black community?
No, it's a yeah. Okay, bro. Okay, there you go. Problem solved.
When he's mad, he just says
statistically. All right. I'm going to put this to you one more time, and that's it. If you have a child, black or white, Jew or Hispanic, and his parents stay together and raise him, he's statistically much more apt to go on to college and be successful and pull himself up out of wherever he or she is pulling him or herself up out of. If the parent,
Agreed.
Okay, all right. If the parent leaves, like the dad leaves, then statistically it's much more difficult. Statistically. Doesn't mean it doesn't happen. Doesn't mean Jews don't get divorced.
But do you want
statistically much more difficult to pull yourself out of poverty? I didn't say Jews never got divorced. I said statistically,
and what I think
they do better at that department.
What I think is the problem in the inner city, and I don't think it's a matter of any race being superior or inferior. What I think it is hopelessness. There is more hopelessness in the inner city black community than there is in the hills of Hollywood.
Right.
And that's because, and there's things like feeling under fire from the police and feeling less than respected that add to that sense of hopelessness.
How would one gain the respect of a society?
Well, part of it, I think, is things like, which I'm happy about. I as much as I want Battlebots on before my show last night, I like conversation. I'm not saying it's going to solve the problem, but I think actually having a black president is a good thing. I think
so. It slowed this stuff. I thought the racial division was greater than it ever was today.
No, and I think, but I as a parent watching my kids, I'm telling you, I think we're seeing the last the gasp of racism in America. I think the generation that has all these horrible issues I don't think my kids even understand the stupidity.
So you're saying it's like a fireworks show where they send it all up at the end.
The finale.
I think that's what's happening. That's what's happening.
Having a black president for 7.5 years has been... So, would this quelled this problem, or what's it done?
I think that the generation that's coming up is not as tied to racist thoughts as our generation was.
Like we are.
As we were raised by.
As we are.
We were raised by. I watched Billy Jack and the Jeffersons. That's all I watched. Okay. So that was raised in.
I think the world you were raised in has more racist thoughts than the
thoughts. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And actions as well?
And actions, yeah.
Okay. All right. I don't disagree with that. So we need one more talk, and then we're done. That's what you're saying, basically?
No.
Okay. But soon. We'll talk it out.
No. I think, and not with Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton having the debate. I don't think that's going to. I don't think that's going to heal.
But we'll talk about cops, and we'll talk about respect, and then how much of this should be family.
A huge amount is family.
Huge. Okay. Yeah. In the talk.
I don't know what the talk is going to be in this town hall.
I bet it's not going to be so much family.
I bet you it is. Let's watch. Let's watch.
All right. So we'll see 50% family versus cops and respect. Okay.
I can't predict what was said.
You should hang out with Gavin Newsom and some sort of think tank. Really solve these problems.
So greatest hits is on when?
I'm being a dick. I don't care. I want to hear some solutions. That's all. Instruments, schools, libraries. No, it's family. That's it. That'll solve it. That'll solve everything. It won't solve it tomorrow. It'll take a few years, but then it'll solve it.
I happen to think that if black families and white families had more conversations in more circumstances, if we weren't as divided in many cultural ways and geographic ways, that's better.
But you don't think we've had a lot of conversations in the last 3 decades?
You mean on TV? I mean, in actual...
I don't know. How many... Look, the president got started with Trayvon Martin, and then he moved on to St. Louis, and then he moved on to that professor. I think
what Gina said about her boyfriend's relative, who was an Irish cop, who had great relationships in like the community, whatever, in Harlem. That's the answer. It's like...
I agree.
And if you know, who I work with, and there's some of my closer work associates. It happens to know it's a pretty broad coalition.
A lot of Kangos floating around.
Exactly.
Yeah, I get it. Not so many yarmulkes, but it's lousy with Kangos.
And what is a Kango but a bigger yarmulke?
Exactly. See, there's a healing moment.
4 more years. Yeah, I agree. Have a conversation or raise your kids, focus on education, and no need for the conversation.
We all have our diverse friends. Yours is Dinesh D'Souza.
He's an Indian guy.
Yeah, exactly.
True.
But not a minority.
He is.
Well, he's rich, so he's the ultimate. I guess it's a minority in the way, but like you're saying, it's the poor versus that's really what it comes down to.
That's what it comes down to.
He's a minority. Yes. The felon. He's a felon. That's the minority.
Yeah. Give $10,000 to someone's campaign under someone's name. Really? That's worse than Hillary Clinton or better?
I heard that yesterday, and I actually do really want to investigate if that literally could be all it was.
I don't know. That's all I heard it was, but you can check it out. Gary can check it out.
I just know from watching his movie, which I paid to see and which I went into with an open mind, the first movie, the Obama movie, I have a sense that he is less fair and balanced than Fox News.
He is not. I mean, look, when people make movies about whatever they're, look, they're, I'll give you one here.
Hillary's my girl.
He is a fan, yeah.
There was a big documentary about the rape culture on college campuses. That turned out to be mostly BS too. Yes?
I'm not familiar with that.
It was a big,
It was 1 in 5 women, I think.
Yeah, it was a big thing, and the lead chick turned out to be whatever, and that was a documentary made about that, but it's full of crap because it came from an angle. He comes from his angle, too. I get that. It's a two-way street. People do it when they make documentaries. Not me. But he does it when he makes documentaries.
Right down the middle.
If you watch that movie,
he went to jail only for campaign finance violations.
That's
what Gary said.
If you watch, here's what I think.
He did a campaign violation.
He made a horror movie about President Obama. Now, here's the problem:
he went to jail for the campaign violation. Okay.
No, I'm saying I need to read up on it. I promise I will read up on it.
Okay.
I just don't. I know it's.
Yeah, I'm just getting Gary to read up on it. Is what I'm saying. But yes, all right.
But
yes, he made a movie.
I know he made a movie, which is a horror movie. It has horror movie music. That President Obama is this infiltrator, evil, trying to undermine the country. It was, and again, I think we'll be a better country if we can go. President Obama is not the savior of the world. He's not going to be able to end racism, but he's also not this evil monster. You know what he is? I'll give him a B-. He's like a pretty good president after a C- president. That's, okay. I think, and we can all just judge people on their actual, how much he did. But if you watch that movie, it's like he's the evil spawn of a, Islamic crazy father, and he has this evil, all this stuff that's just not, I don't think it has anything to do with reality. Sometimes less is more.
All right. Remember before he got elected, it was going to be a lot of black voices were like, he's going to get assassinated because we won't stand for this.
Oh, and people were claiming that? I thought you were going to say
well, every joke in, Friday Night Comedy Jam was he's going to run serpentine to the Air Force One or whatever it is.
I worked the inauguration, and then I worked a few weeks later. I was in D.C. I was in Beverly Hills when he did the Beverly Wilshire, and the security was lax, and I was scared for him.
Well, that's what I'm saying. What I'm saying is it was a running joke, and not even a joke, that if this nation elects a black president, he's going to get assassinated because there's a lot of whitey that hates black people, and it wasn't even, it was jokes as far as comedians went, but as far as pundits went, there was some real talk way back, before the first term that something could happen here because this is the nation we're in. All I'm saying is he's finishing up his second term. There's not been an attempt. I'm not saying that is proof that there's no racism. I'm just saying it's proof that we're probably less than we're putting out there. The fact that the security was lax when he was out here doing his thing and that there hasn't been an attempt, or who knows if things have been thwarted, but who knows what they thwarted against whomever else as well.
I think it's fair to say he has been less about being a black president. He has led, in my mind, being the president of the United States of America. And yet I listen to conservative radio. I listen to all radio a lot when I'm driving around. And from day one, all I heard was hate for this guy, this black president. And things like, I listen to the guys who you are friends with, Dennis Miller, who I'm a big fan of comedically. I listen to Bill O'Reilly, Dennis Prager. They were obsessed with the fact that, they'd say, he's flying Air Force One and he's staying in expensive hotels as if he was the first president to ever get on Air Force One. It's like, he's the friggin' president. And, and there's so much contempt. There is. And
Prager thinks he's divisive or divisive. It used to be divisive.
Yeah.
It used to be. It's divisive.
Is divisive the new way?
Is he doing the left-wing thing now where he's changed the pronunciation?
No, I was always divisive, but now it's divisive.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, it's more divisive.
I didn't know that either.
I don't like it.
But it should go back to divisive. It sounds like divide.
That's the word we know.
Yeah. All right. No, he thinks when he brings the professor from Harvard onto his lawn and has a beer with him and calls the cops stupid, that's causing tension. When he says Trayvon Martin could be my son, that's causing tension. When he's rendering verdicts on things like what happened in Ferguson before the stuff comes in, that this guy, just gentle giant, was walking away from the cop, shot in the back. When he's rendering verdicts on that stuff before the information comes up, it's divisive and divisive.
Here's what I think. Trayvon Martin, I think, will be a better country when we can just judge the people on the merits.
Wasn't a cop.
No, but listen, Michael Brown, to me, he gets, some people in sort of the Black Lives Matter still list him as some sort of heroic figure. I look at the fact that he was holding up that Korean place 10 seconds later. He's no hero to me. But Trayvon Martin, to me, is a different situation. They're both young black men. I think the ultimate answer is to judge people just on what they do.
Don't lump them in one thing, and then you got to take Garagos's client who's dead, who got shot down by the guns. You have to take the white teenager, 19-year-old who's in Fresno, who was gunned down by the popo, and I could show you tapes.
There's probably 2 or 3 more
you've never seen because it doesn't make the news. That's what I'm saying. And Obama doesn't comment on it. Does he comment on cop shootings when they're white people?
I think
why not?
I think he comments on those who serve us who die. I know that with the troops,
he doesn't comment on white teenagers getting gunned down. Okay, I don't want him to comment on it. That's my thing. I don't want Bush to comment on it either. I don't comment. But if you're going to do this, you're going to stir things up. Well, that's what I'm saying.
No, that's what's weird is you talk about how we have too much conversation. I think the problem is that the conversation has gotten so loaded that you can't say anything. You know, when Justin Timberlake got attacked for saying, this bothered me, the political correctness, where people were jumping on him for saying we're all the same, that was wrong because it sounded too much like White Lives Matter or something. Well, he got
immediately attacked for musical appropriation and everybody was against it.
Yeah, and I think that's crazy. And I think the point is just to stand up for people trying to do good.
I agree. Yeah. Just don't say Trayvon could be your son because that's going to stir things up. You're the president. Or mention the guy in Fresno could be your son. Don't mention any of it and start with policies that could help eliminate this. That's all I'm saying.
I just think it's not fair, and I'm not idealizing
and
President Obama.
And don't focus so much on guns. Focus a little more on who's carrying the guns, who's using the guns, and why.
I feel very strongly President Obama is not the one making everything about race. I think it's our culture. It's what he's asked in any press conference.
Okay.
I just don't think that's fair.
Okay. It's not fair. He just went to the memorial of the cops that were slaughtered in Dallas, started off with 10 minutes of great oration, which is what he does, and then finished with a little slap on the hand about how we all have these thoughts and about how you gotta admit, and a lot of us feed this to our kids, and it doesn't escape institutions. So that's at a memorial. He's literally at a memorial, there's 5 dead cops, and he's trying to say something nice and get back on Air Force One, and he finishes with this thing, Gary might be able to find it, where he kind of tells everybody, don't kid yourself, you have these thoughts, and you're passing them on to your kids. I would argue not a great place to make that in front of this guy's fellow officers and loved ones. So don't tell me he's not taking things and working race into them. I understand that the shooting itself was racially motivated. I get that. I'm just saying, show up, say something great about these guys, let them rest in peace, take pictures with the widow and hug it out, get back on Air Force One, and then have the dialogue tonight. That's what I'm saying.
Question about that. Do you think he'd be responding any differently or coming out and saying different things if he was up for election again?
Yes, I do. I think I think all presidents kind of do that
on this
the
specific
back end. Yeah, I think so. Because I think feel like he's done more of it in the last year than the previous, 6.5. All right, silence yourself. Simply Safe. Where was I?
Sometimes less is more.
I met the engineer who invented this stuff. The guy went to Harvard, and his friends got robbed. So what did he do? He snapped into action. Checked out a bunch of places, couldn't find what he wanted, saw that everyone was gouging everybody. So he went with Simply Safe. Well, he invented Simply Safe. Wireless, no drilling, just $14.99 a month, 3 times less than most security companies, no long-term lock-in contracts, no commitments. It's easy. It's Simply Safe. And right now, you can get my hand-picked security system. Entry, motion, glass break sensors. Go to Simply Safe. That's Simply Safe. 2 I's. SimplySafeAdam.com. That's SimplySafeAdam.com. And save $100. All right. God, we got phone calls.
We've done a lot of healing today.
It's a lively discussion.
I think the only place more healing will be the Carolla Cruise, where I will be running a sort of race
seminar. Dialogue on the Lido Deck.
Town hall on the sea.
Shuffleboard and racial healing.
All right, let me blow through a couple of calls here. Listen, no disrespect to David Wild. All I'm saying is whatever the problem is, I want the solution.
We lead our lives virtually exactly the same way.
I know.
Trying to
That's why.
Provide for
Preach
our families.
What you practice.
Yeah.
Preach what you practice.
But I do. I don't know what I'm saying that says otherwise. What
okay.
and how liberal do you think I am?
No, you Jews are not liberal at all when it comes to their own family.
Right.
They're liberal when it comes to everyone else's family. Thank you.
I apologize for my tolerance.
It's not tolerance. You're hurting a group with this speak. You're not helping the group that you're attempting to help because you're telling them, I'm not judging you.
Speak up, John.
You got to judge.
Now's your time.
John.
I just wanted to say I think no child should be left behind.
There you go.
There you go.
Join the hero camp with David Wild in the Huffington Post, everybody. You're now a hero.
Okay.
There you go.
Oh, the George W. Bush thing.
My question is about our raise. So the company that I work for is a worldwide retailer. They just announced a few weeks ago that they're eliminating all of my positions except for about 50 in the country.
David should eliminate some of his positions. But go ahead.
One of those positions is in the city that I work in, and I have an interview for it next week. And I think it's basically a shoe-in. I don't even think there's any other applicants for it because they didn't open it up to outside the company.
Yeah.
If I'm offered the job, is it inappropriate to renegotiate salary or ask for a raise?
I think anytime you swap positions, that's your opportunity to ask for something, right?
Absolutely.
Given that there's less of you doing what you do, John, will you have more responsibility, more people you supervise, or blah, 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 that kind of thing?
It'll be exactly the same job, but the store it's a retail store, but the store that I would go to is a higher volume store. It's a higher risk store. There's more involved there.
Higher risk.
Theft?
I work
Bear traps and such.
Faulty explosive ink.
Yeah. I work I'm an asset protection manager, so most of what I do is looking for employees stealing, and I
your stuff doesn't fall on trucks.
Mm-hmm. All right.
Lost
listen.
convention.
Anytime you swap positions, I think it's time you can ask for a raise. Mitch, 44, Minneapolis.
Yeah, I just wanted to get your opinion, Adam, on protesters walking out into freeways now.
I'm not a big fan because I'll do the protesters. The protesting heals and helps as well. It pisses off everybody in the community, so it's hard to find sympathy when people can't get to work or can't get home from work, or in certain cases, people need help or an ambulance or something like that. You're ending up pissing off the people you're trying to get involved with your cause.
Yeah, I love protesting when it's picketing outside the company that you don't like their hiring practices or the whatever, but it just ruining people's day. Am I bringing awareness to something I somehow don't know about?
Right. So I'm saying it for the guy who's stuck on the 405. I'm also saying it for the person who's trying to get their message across. Pissing off the city is not a helpful way to get the message across. And when all these guys, like, not Black Lives Matter, but another group, I think, like, chain themselves together and just lay down in the intersection of, like, Fairfax and Wilshire, I just drag them out. Just the whole thing about the cops, just literally just drag them out of there. You can't shut down a city. And also, I did hear a story at some point on the news today that some kid was sick and they're trying to get an ambulance to that kid and the thing was blocked off wherever it was. And yeah, there's repercussions. People need to get around. Cops look at that as a threat to the community. If people chain themselves together and lay down in the middle of Wilshire and Fairfax, get them out.
This is dangerous.
Yes, for them as well.
They get attention for doing it. So how are you going to
I know. Tim McVeigh got attention for blowing up a federal building, but it wasn't good press.
Remember what the Gatlin said about attention?
That's right. Yeah. That's right. Wait a minute. Yeah, so I'm saying no because it'll piss off the
There ain't no such thing as bad publicity unless they got a picture of you screwing a goat.
That was Johnny Cash telling Larry Gatlin.
Oh, my God. I heard the Gatlin story that you haven't heard the whole podcast, right?
No, that's coming.
But I heard the part you excerpted, and that was I never knew that story.
I didn't either.
The whole story with the Lucille and all that. That's a great story.
Yeah, but I love having, even if Larry didn't have closure, I liked having closure on the guy did put the Gatlin brothers as rapists in that song because the guy did hate the Gatlin brothers.
Yeah,
all three of them.
All three.
A coincidence. All right, we'll take a quick break. David Wild, listen, we argue because we love each other. The show, Greatest Hits, very enjoyable, lots of energy in that room, and every song by every band, even if not a song you listen to or even remember liking, you will like it performed the way they do it.
Thank you. That's the idea. By the way, it's black and white.
That's
young
right.
and old.
Listen,
if you want to know where the healing is happening, Thursday nights on ABC.
The Three Dog Night song. The Three Dog Night summed it up very nicely.
Black and white?
Yes. Much better than Ebony and Ivory. All right. We'll take a quick break. Caleb Presley is going to be in from the Barstool Sports. We'll do that after this.